Hello everyone and welcome back to the Breakworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at a game that was played quite recently here on a map that we really haven't taken a look at least not very often. I'm not sure if I've ever actually covered this map on this channel. I've certainly played it a few times, but it's not one of those ones that comes up all the time. It's gonna be Melting Glacier, and today spawning as our red team hero right up front in the Cortex Red, spawning right on the beach side here, the crystalline ice-structured snow-laden beachfront here. It's gonna be our red team leader, Pickle Daddy. Pickle Daddy coming in at 33.25 OS, as well as silver chevrons right here. Gonna be a commander with some experience under their belt and showing us how they prefer to play this game. It turns out, whoa, a little bit of chuggy right there, that they prefer to play this map, this gigantic map, as core bots. So as you can see, this map is ridiculous. It's got this bizarro perspective here. Whoa, sorry about that. Anyways, the new camera. Still getting the hang of this. Anyways, our blue team leader here, spawning as an Armada commander, and wow, very interestingly, gonna be going for a good old-fashioned Armada hovercraft lab. Okay, well that's extra spicy. Not the reason I even picked this replay. It just happened to pop up and I thought it looked very strange. But our blue team leader, nonetheless, going to be Equal Liberty. Equal liberty. Is it like equal liberty or equal liberty? It's equal liberty. Rolls right off the tongue. Going to be a hovercraft constructor rolling out of the lab. First and foremost, what are the benefits of hovercraft? Well, of course, the obvious one is that you can go onto land and then back into the sea. It means that, for instance, you can grab these metal extractors that are otherwise locked to you over here, as well as the ones that are in the ocean. So I suppose it does save you a little bit of time, right? You don't have to transition into boats and then vehicles or bots and then back and forth and back and forth. It just means you can build one thing. But if you're ever fighting units with the hovercrafts, they can be lackluster, to say the very least. Okay. Well, we've got our two leaders established right here. Why don't we go ahead and toggle on the cinematics, and we'll take a look at exactly what went down in this match. Got a couple of beach landings here. It looks like the green commander, Rexalidus, the green commander, as well as Calamity, the purple commander, with some leet speak naming convention. They're going to be going ahead and landing on the shoreline here for the blue team. Looks like Find Me One, the lavender commander, is up on the northern side as well. For the red team, it looks like it's going to be Vi, Pickle Daddy, and Bake Me Do, or Bake Meadow, Bake Meadow, the, well, what is this? Maroon, that's the word. Maroon Legion commander on the southern side. Going to be showing us what they've got. All right, going for a laboratory. I mean, this is a late laboratory for sure. We've got, we do have LLTs over here. Now, normally I would say that's ambitious to put LLTs or LHTs over here, because there's not really going to be a lot of rating for us. However, yeah, I guess there will be. I mean, we could go ahead and make some rating units right here, right? The Armada Hovercraft Lab does have the Seeker, which is a very effective rating unit, especially on maps like this, obviously, where the terrain is bizarre all over the place. Now, I'm not sure if this map is balanced. That's another thing that I'm just completely unaware of. Like, this map could totally be skewed one side or another. I'd be very curious to see the win rates and loss rates. Maybe somebody could put that in the comment section. I know there's some of you that are super in tune with the numbers and all that sort of stuff. I'm more of an action kind of guy. That's boring science stuff, Terry. Action like this tick. Oh, miscued. Never mind. Okay, well, he does call out at least the faction that they're going to be playing against. Will the tick manage to snipe the mechs? Those mechs with extra HP, very, very durable. You can see how hard that tick had to struggle in order to kill this metal extractor. Maybe worth flashing those on the screen right here while we're still getting set up, while the action is still limited. Some of the changes that were important. This one right here is the most important, though. The T1 mechs getting 41% HP buff does mean that all of them are quite a bit more resistant to early raiding. Now, that was largely a change meant to unpack the 1v1 gaming, which relies very, very heavily on that early rating, and it did give Armada a distinct advantage in a lot of ways, because ticks are so cheap and so effective at sniping those early construction, or those early metal extractors, rather. Conbots as well got a little bit of a buff, a 15% HP buff across the board, which is very cool as well. It means that those are a little harder to snipe as well, which is always going to be a little bit of a convenience, right? You're just kind of going to be a little bit easy. You'll have a little more time. You'll have 15% more time to go ahead and save your units. Now, all those are minor changes. Well, the 41% is pretty ginormous, but the 15% is relatively minor. Like, we have a whole bunch of other tweaks. You're welcome to go back and reread through all those as well. We do have Seekers coming across the map right here. We have gunboats in position right here, the supporters. We're aware of the tank commander, Flash Swiggins, not in position. Luckily, a frigate is in the way in order to try and deal with some of this. These hovercraft not going to choose to engage. All right. Well, they've somehow managed to find the one island with any kind of defenses on it. The LHTs will be more than happy to blast away at the Seeker as soon as it comes within range, which will be right now. Yep, there they go. Turning around and running. Here we go. They do manage to find their way onto land over here, so they will be able to pick off a whole bunch of wind turbines. And man, those are conveniently spaced. Not at all. They're going to be beautiful for a chain reaction. A lesson to be learned here. Space your wind turbines out at least one click. Otherwise, mayhem. Well, there we go. These two have certainly justified themselves. 170 metal for the combined cost of both of these, and certainly they've killed at least that much in all these wind turbines as well as the metal extractor. Frigate here will clean up at least one of them, and probably both of them. The frigates do have quite a lot of firepower. Ooh, well, last shot does miss. Okay. Commander? Ooh, okay, Commander does manage to catch it. All right. Raiding not entirely over yet. We are slowly leaving that era, though, as meanwhile we have the constructors moving up to the high ground. Okay. I mean, these are going to get there way quicker than the commander, so it does make a lot of sense to go for these constructors early on, right? You have to go through the water, which takes forever, and then up the hillside, all around over here. It's going to take forever, so I guess the hovercraft really do make sense in this position. Not to mention, of course, that this is a lot of metal. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16 metal. I mean, if we claim all these, that would be impressive. 18 metal. That'd be a gigantic boost to the blue economy. You can afford the inefficiency that is the hovercraft, not to mention already having so much of the map here. This map, I believe, is designed for a free-for-all sort of a situation, so it means that, typically speaking, you're not going to see everybody kind of looking for balance more so than just a fair start, I guess. Bake me do, losing a whole bunch of those tidal generators, though. Yeah, not a lot that the Maroon Commander can really do about it. There's, yeah, not a lot of long range, or long enough range, anyway, units that can deal with these hovercraft. Ballistas, sure, but they're way too slow. Seeker in the mix here as well, I love that. Or Sweeper, rather, in the mix right here in order to shut down any shuriken. That's what that guy's included for. Gotta be nice for shooting down fighters. Wow, it is actually a single burst in order to kill a fighter. That's really, really nice. Little things that even I didn't know.
Commander
playing this game for years on years. I'm certainly not the most experienced commander in the game, but I've been playing this a good long while, long enough to know about basically every unit. And even I didn't know that the Sweeper was a one-hit kill on those T1 fighters if it lands the full 3-round burst. A couple of bombers across the field right here. Surprised to see they aren't targeting these mexes. Ah, they've got a better target. Bombs are away. Boom, go the E-converters plopped right on top of the E-storages right there. That hurts pretty bad. Those E-stores going down actually hurts this economy way more than it looks like, just because of the fact that because they go down, suddenly we can't actually convert all the energy. One of those things is that you need the energy storage to have enough space to actually use all of your E-converters, right? So each of these takes 70 energy per second, so you basically need 70 times the amount of E-converters you have in storage in order to actually use all these. You can see one of these flickering here intermittently. That's because of that. Pro tip for anybody that might be going for an E-converter based economy and wondering why you're not actually scaling very well. It's because you might not actually be using all of your E-conversion. You can sort of get away with a little bit. We have another engagement on this side here. It looks like a couple of hovercraft, retaliatory hovercraft, make their way across. You can kind of get away by fudging it a little bit by moving your slider really far down, but having extra storage is always going to be useful too, especially for those low wind moments. We've all been there. We've all been smitten by the wind. Seekers. Prepared for an attack again. Man, the front line is continuing to push, though. Pickle Daddy with that good old-fashioned Cortex push. We've got a bunch of Resbots resurrecting whatever they can on the front line. We've got a combined arms force here of aggravators and thugs, lending a whole bunch of range, but also a whole bunch of HP to this composition, making it quite dangerous to push into. Alright, we're going to keep taking trades, but that's the nice thing about these Resbots is as long as they stay alive, and as long as you don't overcommit, you have enough army to defend the wreck field at the least, you're going to be A-okay. You can pick those units back up, and all of them that aren't destroyed into debris rather than just the wreckage. They're going to be perfectly fine. Yep, just resurrect them, get them back on their feet, and then they'll help with defending the push right here. It means that effectively what the Green Commander is doing right now is feeding. We do the Commander moving forward. This is one way you can force this engagement through, is just by sending the Commander in, trying to reclaim as much as possible, and ultimately, most likely, blowing yourself up. It'll wipe the slate, so to speak, but if your units aren't in the explosion and the enemies are, well, it's a strategy as old as Commanders themselves. You can wipe the field and turn the tide in the worst sort of a battle. But this is a lovely engagement right here. A little bit of a flanking situation going on as we have kind of a corner flank. The purple commander moving in from the right and the green commander moving in from the south here. All of a sudden the red commander is pinched between these two armies and has lost control of the wreckage field. Looks like the Resbots must have been sniped in that engagement there as well. Stepped just a tad too far forward. Yellow commander not able to support, being pressured on the northern side. Nicely done by Find Me One, and the blue team is just playing like a team. Midsection of the map completely wide open right here, I will point out. We have some gunships tearing apart the base, or the proxy base here of the Green Commander, who is, I mean, I guess is the main base, yeah. Constructor building some title gens, but there we go. Banshee sniping everything. We don't have an air player here for the blue team, notably. Worth extremely importantly noting that we do not have an air player right now. I'd love to see an air transition. We have, wow, T2 vehicles actually coming up for equal liberty. You know, I don't mind it. After all the mexes that were taken, it was certainly a huge boost to the economy, but that era has long since gone. The Marine Commanders cleared out most of that, and it looks like the Constructors have died or moved on either way. And now there's not really anything left. There's a commander down. The yellow commander, in fact, loses it all on the front line. Well, he's losing the commander. Actually has a decent army on the front here. Most of the lavender forces are dead as well, so it will be sort of a reset to 0 on that front. But you know what? With the walls and the posturing here from the agitators, or aggravators, that is really, really difficult to break. The thugs are probably the best bet for doing so. But even then, it's still a difficult position to break. So much build power here to resurrect. We do have more resbots up and running as well as the constructor. Those beamer turrets are going to be really quite nice. It's even a resurrected constructor. Isn't that cute? Yeah. Those walls, man, they can make the world of a difference. They basically turn off rocket bots, because as long as your rocket bots behind the walls and the enemies are not, you're going to have so much more HP than them, effectively 3 times their durability for, I don't know, an 80th of the cost, something like that. Yeah. Very, very effective strategy. You can see how difficult the Purple Commander is having here trying to break through this. The walls are just impossible to crack. You're never going to be able to kill them as efficiently as a commander can build them. It takes like 2 seconds for a commander to put one up. It takes 50 rockets or so to blast them down here. Yeah, it's super frustrating. One of the things you can do is just step forward, just put these on hold fire, step them forward and fire at the commander in one volley. Really easy way to shred off 30-40% off a commander if you have enough of those good old-fashioned rocket bots or thugs or anything else like that for that instance. All you have to do is set target. But now we're ready for a different era of war. The Sheldon marching out of the laboratory. One of the nice things about the Sheldon, of course, is that you don't have to work... Ooh, commander goes down over here, actually. Okay, cheeky snipe. One of the things that is nice about the Sheldon is you don't have to work very hard for them to find their value. Bombers coming across right here as well, helping succeed the push. As all of a sudden, with the Sheldon support as well the loss of that commander on that northern side there, these bombers are going to have a wonderful time tearing apart this base right here. No anti-air available for the Purple Commander. We really should have, after not having any air players for this entire game. Eradicator set up in base here for the Green Commander, who was traumatized from the early bombing run. That is the downside of bombing that early. Well, not that early, but anyways, bombing in general is that you will have follow-up anti-air in the base, or at least you should. Not going to be the case here for the Purple Commander, though, who does lose... well, most of it. The build power is still up and running, at least for now. Seeker trying desperately to shut this down, helping the teammate as much as we can, but there's only so much you can do. To conclude that point about the Sheldon, all I was trying to say is that the Sheldon have so much range that even if they're just on the front line idly, good chances that they're going to have a target to fire away at, just like this, where they can continually fire away at these rocket bots. They don't really need to be engaging here. They just need to be whittling down this force and making the best use of their long-rangedness. Sending in the resbots to reclaim all this, turning it into T2 would be ideal. I actually don't see the resbots. They must have gone down again. We have a yellow resbot on the field. But how about on that southern side? Man, Green Commander has made excellent work of this southern side here. Tank Commander went down to miss the entire naval engagement. Looks like the Brown Commander has been stranded on an island of solitude here. We do have a res sub under the waves as well, collecting all that debris. That is juicy. T2 Laboratory, of course, up and running now for the Green Commander, and excellent usage of those resources. Actually, multiple T2 naval labs coming up and running, which is a little bit of a waste. 1 or 2 of these probably would have been ideal. At least one of these to build the constructors and upgrade the mexes all over the place. And then another one, of course, to go ahead and produce units after the mexes are up and running. HLT right here is critical as well. Love that. Going to be super useful for maintaining this position on the front line right here. The constructor is falling, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, the HLT is great. It's going to help blast away a bunch of these T1 units really, really easily. And the Sheldon are now wrapping around to put some pressure on Find Me 1, the Lavender Commander. So the entire iceberg in the center of the map has effectively been won here by the red team. Meanwhile, the Navy game has almost entirely been won by the blue team. Now in a straight-up land versus sea battle, typically land will win because land eco-scaling is ever so slightly more efficient. Okay, Commander goes down to a bunch of red units. Those are a bunch of good old-fashioned lobbers, or satyr rather, surrounding that Commander. Not a difficult way to kill a Commander. You just produce about 50 of them, and
Commander
fairly
destroyed.
quickly they're going to blast it all away. Sheldon managing to take another Commander here, and the Orange Commander, the Bastion in the deep, trying to hold on against the Cyan forces. Actually doing a great job of holding here. This is actually a decent army that we've got, although with support from the teammate, I think this could probably sweep right through. Can we just hand these units over? It really would be beneficial to just hand these all to one commander. Just let one person control the Navy units. There's typically so few Navy units that it's not worth two commanders controlling them. It's pretty easy to micro as one commander. Base goes down right here for the Lavender commander. That's another one down. More food for the T2 laboratory. We have... Where's that T2 laboratory? There it is. A lot of options out of the Cortex T2 laboratory. Very powerful one, of course, being the Duck. A amphibious bot that fires a heavy laser out of its twin tusks and a torpedo out of its main mouth. Little bit of a T1 push here, just trying to make the best out of whatever of these units we can. Frankly speaking, though, this is just a death cry. The Green Commander not really left in this game anymore, at least not with any production that's meaningful. So these T1 units are kind of just trying to find whatever value that they can, but the gunship's not going to let that happen. Oh, even if the pop-up turret, the Dragon's Jaw, pop-up riot cannon turret, very useful. Going to mean that those thugs find effectively no value and are basically just metal donated to the enemy. Their fate is ultimate, but it doesn't mean the Green Commander's out of it yet. At the very least, we do have one constructor that's going to try and rebuild. We have a air lab queued up. I think that's wise. One of these commanders going into air, or even better, going into seaplanes would be really, really nice. We've also got, again, double Dreadnought production right now is so expensive. You could have had this Dreadnought already if both of these commanders were, if we were just sending the metal back and forth. Yeah, there we go. Looks like the Seafoam Green Commander will receive a bunch of metal. Is that an Ender chest? It's definitely a flag, but... Sorry, I got completely distracted by a Manus's flag right there. What country is this from? Let me know down below in the comment section. Blue team looking like they're in a rough position right here. A nice little, nice little engagement for the Cyan Commander on the northern side. Trying to focus down those destroyers, of course, is always important. Taking out the destroyers mean that submarines can have a huge effect, but frankly, walking into torpedo launchers is going to negate that pretty badly. Ugh, okay. I liked it a whole lot better before the torpedo launchers got basically free value against all this. Res subs to the rescue as they're going to reclaim all that and send that metal back to the front line here. We have a T2 submarine sneaking its way towards the enemy base, trying to find some value. Looks like it does about 9% damage per shot. Is not bad. A destroyer, a T1 unit, though, does quite a bit more. Yeah. Submarine's not ideal. Not really. Brown Commander's been allowed to rebuild, which is a little bit interesting. KX Valgan going to be finally rebuilding that metal extractor. Probably would have gone for overcharge max at this point, but anyways. Very slow on the T2 Navy transition, I will say. Like, we have been really, really slow. Arctically, glacially slow, you could even say. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much. Actually, hold on. I just bought this soundboard. Well, anyway, I'll figure that out later. I bought a soundboard and I was messing with it, and man, it is hilarious but extremely annoying. Maybe I better keep that off the old microphone. So slow with this T2 train. If we had just been pumping out T2 units right now, if we'd just been sending these T2 boats across, we could have killed the entirety of this backline. We could have opened a door for the blue commanders on the northern side, killed the orange commander, and then started raiding from the back, but these T2 have just been so long in the process. We have a longbow finally starting to siege this base here, the brown commander. A ambitious plan to go for that T2 air lab. At the very least, this longbow will shuttle this down the energy at the very least. But man, this has taken forever. This really should have happened immediately. This should have been one laboratory, and pretty much happened as soon as it was possible. T2 lab set up on the land right here, just to squeeze out that constructor, and nothing more, nothing less. And now we are ready. We're right and properly ready for that T2 transition, as we're going to get those T2 maxes up and running. Looks like we have some Arbiter firing away into the distance as well, trying to get whatever value they can. All right, the red team in a position to close this one out with a little bit of an amphibious assault. What will be the weapon of choice, though, is always the question. Looks like we'll have a little bit of eco going on right here as we set up the anti-nukes, some fusion reactors, E-converters, all the good stuff, ready to step into a higher tier of game. For me, though, it would make a lot of sense to go into nukes. Anti-nuke boats, very expensive. At this point, we are into T2, so it's not like they're not going to be anywhere, but, I mean, you can see for yourself, the anti-nuke coverage is very shy, all in and around here for the blue team. We just start popping these bases one by one with nukes. Sure, maybe one of them will be covered by an anti-nuke boat eventually. For the time being, pretty much unstoppable force. Here's those ducks I was talking about just moments before here, firing away their torpedoes as best they can anyways. Not 100% accurate, but they're doing their best they can. Oh, commander goes down here. A little bit of a commander trade. Red and powder blue do lose it. Both of them on the southern side. They have a lovely embrace. Arbiter's continuing to fire away. The range is so devastating. Not sure how they have vision over there, actually. Well, I guess they just had a prior scout. Okay. So nice thing is that ducks are efficient even against T2 units. There's a saying that the best submarine is the duck, as you can see here. Is there really a reason why we haven't gone across and killed the Morse commander yet? I hope it's not from these hovercraft that are actually winning against the T2 dreadnought. Oh, jeez. 3,000-ish metal down the drain right there. We have another one coming up as well, 3,300. Please support your dreadnoughts with a couple of paladins. At the very least, a couple of lightning boats, maelstroms. Yeah, we're going for the eco, but really I feel like we could have won this game with just unit production right here. T2 air, or no, pardon me, T1 airplanes up and running here as Equal Liberty is surprisingly not going into seaplanes. I really expected to see seaplanes here, but we're not going into those so far. Oh, there's the amphibious tanks. Here we go. Some amphibious raiding, finally. The blue team had all the time in the world to do the exact same thing and just never took advantage of any of the amphibious options. This southern side has been open effectively this entire game. KX Valgan, I think AFK. Leaving the game without leaving the game. We have a dreadnought finally finding some value. We have these Coast Guard. What are they? Advanced Amphibious Assault Bot / Coast Guard. I don't know. They're a weird unit. They fire a depth charge. They have a heat ray beam. They can't attack when they're underwater, though. It's kind of weird. They're like a marauder in that way, I suppose. Well, their counterattack is swift and brutal on the northern side. We have the blue commander losing it all. I mean, those ducks are going to be impossible to counter without really, really vast sums of metal to expend against them. Yeah, all of a sudden the units are completely destroyed. Not to mention the Navy that was already available. Now we have T2 boats coming out here. The Buccaneer are going to be sending their quad laser array deep into the heart of the enemy. Garpike. Couple of light amphibious tanks, sure. Popping up and taking refuge on the water. There was a torpedo launcher somewhere over here. Yeah, we have an advanced torpedo launcher, but it's going to do you no good once these units make landfall. Well, I gotta give it to the red team for keeping their composure and making the very best of what they have on land here. Upgrading all these mexes is nice as well, giving you a huge eco bonus, but I think this is the killing move. A whole bunch of bombers going to be more than enough to shuttle this down. We do have AA bot, or no, pardon me, those are just actually the light AA from the from the missile ships. Lovely bombing right there from the red commander. Manages to blow those away, shooing away the missile harassment right here. So at the very least, the bases or the wind turbines and all the rest of that is going to be safe. Oh, man. I feel like the blue team has really started to clutch defeat from the jaws of victory. They had a wonderful engagement on the southern side and never took advantage of it. Amphibious units, beautiful bombing run coming up right here. Amphibious units could have made all the difference on that southern side. Instead, we basically bought fusion reactors. And now we're in this situation. A-boat trying its best. Another bombing run coming across right here. T2 Lab is shot down. AA will eventually kill those bombers, though. That's nice. The flak boat's pretty good. T2 Wasp's a little bit harder to kill. Not the end of the world, though. Flak's still very good. But the blue base is crippled completely. The red team definitely rallying on land and finding their purchase. And to that, I give the sincerest accommodations. Commendations, rather. Look at all these dreadnoughts we have just all over the place. No focus here. Random AA boats and missile boats. I mean, the missile boats are nice, firing away here at the bases, trying to do whatever they can to soften all these. I feel like the amount of dreadnoughts and missile boats and all that we've seen have probably equal or almost equal the cost of a capital ship. If we had just all four of the backliners just paid for a capital ship, maybe things would have turned out differently. Not the case, though. The red team takes over the land, manages to hold fast, blows up enough commanders, and gets their T2 out quicker, eventually meaning that they take the lead and then take the win in this game of Beyond All Reason. Thanks a ton for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I sure hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.